All right, let's talk about AI. It feels like it's absolutely everywhere, right? The hype is off the charts, companies are pouring billions into it. But here's the thing. There's a massive paradox hiding just beneath the surface, a huge disconnect between what we're promised and what's actually happening.
So first, let's just follow the money. I mean, look at this number. By 2030, the global AI market is projected to be worth $1.81 trillion. That's not just a trend. That's one of the single biggest financial bets in human history. Everybody is all in. But then, you see a number like this. Up to 85%. That's the high-end estimate for how many AI projects fail. They just don't work. They get abandoned, they never deliver on their promises. So, wait a second. How can both of these things be true at the same time?
Well, this is what the experts are calling the AI implementation paradox. You've got this tidal wave of cash and excitement on one side, and on the other, you have a literal graveyard of failed projects. And that gap, it's getting wider every single day.
And what's so wild is watching these two realities play out at once. I mean, nearly every single business has jumped into the AI game, and yet look at the other side. 42% of companies just straight up abandoned their AI plans in 2025. And almost half of all the initial test runs, the proofs of concept, they get scrapped before they ever see the light of day.
This creates this creepy phenomenon some people call AI zombies. You know what I'm talking about. These are the projects that aren't officially dead, but they're not really alive either. They're just kind of shuffling along, eating up budgets, time, and talent without actually doing anything useful. They are a huge hidden drain on that trillion-dollar investment.
Okay, so why? Why is this happening on such a massive scale? Well, it turns out that across all kinds of industries, the same core problems just keep popping up again and again. You can almost think of them as the four horsemen of the AI apocalypse.
And the number one killer, the first horseman, is almost always poor data quality. If you get that wrong, you're pretty much done for. From there, you get the second horseman, misaligned objectives. This is where teams build something cool technically, but it doesn't solve any real business problem. Then you have the human factors, not enough skilled people, and a culture that fights change. And finally, you've got shaky infrastructure and completely ignoring ethics until it's way, way too late.
This quote just nails it, doesn't it? AI is fundamentally a data game, not a code fest. Success isn't really about who has the most complex algorithm. It's about the quality of the data you're feeding that algorithm. You know the old saying, garbage in, garbage out? Well, with AI, it's that on steroids. Your data is the foundation, and if that's cracked, the whole building is coming down.
Right, so these problems are everywhere. But to really see the impact, let's look at a few places where the stakes are incredibly high. Places where failure isn't just disappointing, can be genuinely dangerous.
Let's start with the business world. The gap here between talk and results is just a canyon. You have 3/4 of executives saying AI is a top priority for them, but only a quarter, just 25%, say they're actually seeing any significant value from it. It's the classic trap of being busy versus being effective. They're doing stuff, but it's not moving the needle. And if business is struggling with value, you could say education is wrestling with integrity. Look at this. The adoption rate by students is insane. 88% use generative AI for their assignments, but here's the kicker. 18% admit to just copy-pasting AI text directly into their work. It makes you ask a really big question. Are we teaching students how to think or just how to prompt?
Okay, now we get to the most critical arena of all, healthcare. Because in this world, the consequences of getting AI wrong, they go way beyond a bad quarterly report. We're talking about life and death.
The failure rate for AI projects in healthcare is reported to be over 80%. And this is where you can see those four horsemen we talked about just running wild. The patient data is a mess, it's fragmented, the regulations are a nightmare, and at the end of the day, there is a deep, deep lack of trust from both doctors and their patients. And that trust issue is everything. Just look at these fears. The majority of people are worried that AI is going to get between them and their doctor. They're worried about their data security. And over half are worried that hidden biases in the algorithms could lead to them getting worse care. If you don't solve for these very real, very human fears, the tech doesn't matter. It just won't be adopted.
So, after all that doom and gloom, how do we actually get this right? How do we finally close that gap between the hype and the reality? Well, the good news is there is a path. It just requires us to be a lot more strategic and a lot less frantic.
Real success seems to rest on these 4 pillars. And notice, they're the perfect antidotes to the 4 horsemen of failure. First, you've got to adopt a data-first mindset. Remember, good data beats a fancy algorithm every single time. Second, align every project with real, measurable business value. Third, invest in your people. Build their skills, get their buy-in. And finally, you have to make responsible AI a priority from day one, not some panicked cleanup job later on.
And this is so important. It's not about one giant, risky moonshot. It's a journey, done in phases. You start small. Get some quick, visible wins on the board to build momentum. You invest in the boring but critical data infrastructure up front. You get everyone involved early to build that trust. And you build your ethical guardrails before you need them so you can scale without breaking things.
Which brings us to what might be the most important takeaway from all of this. The real AI revolution, it isn't actually about the cool new tech. No, it's about something much deeper.
Yeah, so one source made this incredible parallel to the dawn of the computer age. Back in the 70s and 80s, companies spent billions on computers and saw zero productivity gains. Zero. Why? Because the payoff only came when they stopped just buying computers and started completely redesigning their businesses around them. It's the exact same thing with AI. You can't just bolt it onto your old way of doing things. You have to fundamentally transform how you work.
And that leaves us with this final question to chew on. In this mad dash where everyone is terrified of being left behind, maybe the biggest risk isn't choosing not to adopt AI. Maybe the biggest risk is adopting it badly. Because doing AI the wrong way, well, that might just be worse than not doing it at all.